To get started with your Essay 1 outline, you are going to click on the link below. Then you're going to go to File and Make a Copy. Once you've done that, you will be able to save a copy to your Google Drive and you will be able to edit. For this assignment, you will be focusing on a single story that was important to you growing up. You will be using descriptive language to tell your story. Then you will explain why the story was important to you growing up and how the story has continued to shape the person that you are today. You are expected to provide specific descriptive examples to support your claims. The requirements for Essay 1 are as follows. Your essay should be 5 paragraphs. This will include an introduction, 3 body paragraphs, and a conclusion. Each paragraph should be at least half a page double-spaced, but they can be longer. Your essay must be in MLA format. Your essay must include a hook that will be a quote from one of the articles we cover in Unit 1. And you will need to provide citations for any sources used, as well as a works cited page at the end. You must have a thesis and topic sentences. Proofread for grammatical errors, punctuation, syntax, and style. Choosing your story and your lessons. The main focus of this essay is a narrative about you and a story that was important to you growing up. This can be a story that you heard, that was read to you, or that you read yourself, or a movie that you watched as a kid. You will then be telling me the lessons the story taught you as a child and how the story has impacted the person that you are now that you're older. When you put this information together, it will become your thesis. Let's look at some thesis examples for this essay. So here I have 3 examples of thesis statements that would work. You are only going to have one thesis statement, but I wanted to make sure that you have examples from different types of stories. So the first example is focusing on a movie, the second example is focusing on a family story, and the third example is focusing on a fairy tale. All 3 types of these stories are going to work for this assignment. It just depends on you and what stories you grew up with. Feel free to pause this and take a look at these. And if you have any questions, let me know. If you do need help writing your thesis, feel free to reach out to me and I am happy to help with that. Let's start by looking at the introduction. The introduction for Essay 1 will have 3 parts. You have your hook, your introduced topic, and your thesis statement. For your hook, you're going to choose a quote from one of the articles that we read in Unit 1 that relate to your topic. So if you have a scary story, maybe choose a quote from the Greg Ruth article. If you have a fairy tale, maybe choose a quote from the Pauline Dwan article. For introducing your topic, you just want to introduce the general purpose of this paper without going into too much detail. So for this essay, I would probably talk about your story and why it is important to you in the most general sense. For your thesis statement, you want to include the name of your story, why it was important to you as a kid, and then what you continue to learn from the story as an adult or how you feel about the story as an adult. I have a template here that you're welcome to fill out, although as you saw from the thesis statements that I had in the previous slides, there is some flexibility, so make it work for whatever you want to talk about. For body paragraph 1, we're going to focus on telling your story in your own words. So for the topic sentence, you're going to tell me the context of your earliest memory of the story. And by story, I mean whatever you chose as your topic. So it might be a movie, it might be a family story, it might be a fairy tale, it might be a book you read. You're going to tell me how old were you when you first were exposed to the story, who introduced the story to you, where were you, and how did it make you feel. You might not have memories of all these things, but give me as much information as you can. For your descriptive retelling, you're going to tell me the story in your own words based off that earliest memory. It doesn't need to be exact, especially if we're talking about, say, a Disney movie. I want your memory of the story in your own words. Body paragraph 2 is going to be focused on what the story meant to you as a kid. So when you first heard the story, what about it appealed to you? Your topic sentence should match up with your thesis statement. So whatever you said in your thesis needs to be mirrored in your topic sentence. You're going to tell me what you learned from the story as a kid, and then for your support, you are going to give specific examples from your childhood of the lessons or struggles that you mentioned in your topic sentence. For example, if I'm writing about Mulan and how the story empowered me as a kid, then I'm going to give specific support examples of times in my childhood that I empowered myself, that I did something that scared me, or that I, disproved a stereotype about girls or something like that. So they aren't going to be examples from the story, they're going to be examples from my life that match the lesson that I learned from the story. For body paragraph 3, you're going to focus on what the story means to you now that you are older. So it might be that the story still holds value to you in terms of the lessons. It might be that you've changed your opinion on the story and you now see some of the flaws in it. It might be that the story just got you interested in a genre that you continue to enjoy, like horror or fantasy or something like that. So for your topic sentence, you're going to tell me what you feel about the story now that you're an adult. Again, it should match up with what you said in your thesis statement. And then for your support, again, you're going to give specific examples from your adult life of what that looks like. So if I'm using the Mulan example, as an adult, I appreciate that the story shows how isolating being different can be, or going against the status quo. So for my support, I'm going to be focusing on times in my adult life where it has been hard to go against the status quo, or it has been hard to go against societal expectations and what that meant for me. So again, the support is not coming from the story, but it's coming from my life. Lastly, we have the conclusion. So for the conclusion, there is 3 parts, just like we had with the introduction. So we are going to revisit the hook, we're going to review the main points of the essay, and we're going to include any final thoughts. For revisiting the hook for this one, because everyone's going to be choosing a quote, I just suggest taking a part of the quote that you had in your introduction and then reviewing it with the context of now having written the entire essay. What does that quote mean to you and your topic? For reviewing the main points, you're going to talk about whatever you want the reader to remember. What do you think is the important takeaways of this? And for final thoughts, you're going to consider the bigger implications of the story and storytelling in general. What have you learned about yourself through the process of writing this essay? And what do you feel about the value of stories and storytelling after having written the essay? Once you have filled out your outline, you will submit it and wait for me to grade. You will likely have to revise once it is graded. Read the comments for instructions. I will have provided detailed feedback on what needs to be revised. Once you have full points, you can start your essay 1. Important note, students who have full points on all of their essay prep assignments will get extra credit points applied to their essay. So keep this in mind if it's important to you to get a good grade in the class. It is always a good idea to revise all your essay prep assignments because it will improve the grade of your essay overall.